what is the biggest red flag when you see when LHDN nampak lah?
Mula January. Don't mula in December bila you nak tutup your accounts. No, don't do that. Itu red flag.
Kita mengejar tax relief semata-mata untuk dapatkan tax relief. Is that berbaloi ke tidak?
You bayar RM1,000 hanya untuk dapatkan RM200. You baik simpan RM1,000 tu dalam bank ke FD ke, dapat juga duit interest.
Kedai Tom Yum mostly dulu pakai cash, mana ada pakai kad kredit. QR pun dulu tidak ada. So how does LHDN measure dia punya revenue?
Kalau kedai tom yum lain, dia punya gross profit let's say 30%. Kenapa you punya 10%? So macam tu dia akan tahu.
Orang yang takut e-invoice ni ada dua jenis je. One being that dia ni scammer. Nombor dua adalah dia memang nak mengelak cukai.
Betul. You don't issue invoice. Kalau cash business, kalau tak ada invoice, nobody can trace. I don't want to say industry, then I kena tembak pula, you know.
One of the influencer atau selebriti yang menjual kasut dan beg tangan ada go to the news complain, cakap pasal refund untuk company dia dari LHDN sedikit lambat. 4 tahun.
Betul, 4 tahun. Betul.
Kenapa bisa sampai 4 tahun? Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi kepada pendengar-pendengar setia Financial Faiz. Bertemu kita lagi dalam podcast kali ini nak membincangkan topik-topik yang menarik dan bermanfaat kepada semua pendengar-pendengar. Okay, so hari ni nak tanya you guys lah. Cuba korang check korang punya dompet ataupun laci rumah korang, ada tak resit-resit yang korang simpan sejak Januari tahun 2025. Tak kisahlah resit beli buku ke, resit internet ke, resit pergi masuk gym ke ataupun medical check up. So kalau ada, tahniah. Sebab resit-resit itulah duit yang korang boleh selamatkan daripada korang kena bayar kepada LHDN. So sekarang ni pun kita dah sampai ke hujung Disember 2025. Ini adalah pecotan terakhir untuk claim pelepasan cukai tahun 2025 dan kita tak nak buat silap. Kita tak nak tersalah claim sampai kena red flag by LHDN. And then kalau dia flag, maybe kita kena audit dan leceh pula lah. Sebab itulah kita bawa seorang pakar yang memang terkenal dengan kepakaran menterjemah bahasa-bahasa LHDN kepada bahasa rakyat, kepada bahasa kita. Beliau tahu selok belok audit dan juga hacks cukai yang selamat. Beliau merupakan pengasas dan gerakan kongsi cukai di Invatax Consulting dan suara beliau sangat sinonim di beberapa media tempatan. Ada pengalaman selama 20 tahun, bekas ketua cukai di MAHB dan juga ahli fellow ACCA. Selamat datang ke studio Puan Purvani Raja Gopal.
Selamat pagi Encik Faiz, sorry. Thank you for having me here.
Tak ada masalah.
Terima kasih untuk jemputan tuan.
Sama-sama. Okay. So how was your travel ke sini tadi?
Okay. Very easy. Kerana office kat JI1 saja, so dekat je.
JI1 to Kota Damansara lah.
Correct. Yeah.
I see.
So guna LDP je.
Betul. So now it's December. Ini adalah waktu yang ramai orang, kalau tengok kat social media, ramai orang berbincang pasal cukai. Sama ada dia influencers ke ataupun some of them running dia punya own tax ataupun audit ataupun basically tax, ataupun accounting punya firms. Ramai orang akan post pasal cukai. Betul. Okay.
Kerana sekarang kita ada lagi 2 minggu.
2 minggu?
So apa-apa tax relief yang belum belanja lagi boleh pergi beli dan claim the receipt.
I see. Tapi my question is, adakah itu benda yang baik kita mengejar tax relief semata-mata untuk dapatkan tax relief? Okay, I bagi contoh. Memang tak nak pun pergi gym. Tapi because ada tax relief, contohlah. Tak nak pun main badminton, tapi ada tax relief. Then you spend say RM300 untuk beli racket badminton tu. Lepas tu maybe main ke tak main tu belakang cerita, tapi dapat tax relief. Is that berbaloi ke tidak?
I mean, kalau ikut pendapat saya tak bijak.
Tak bijak
juga. Let's say kadar cukai yang akhir adalah 20%.
Kadar cukai akhir being
your taxable bila you buat BE form, your kadar cukai is 20%.
Betul, sebab different people akan ada different kadar.
Different lah. So ini sebagai contoh 20%.
20%, okay.
So kalau pembayar cukai belanja RM1,000 untuk sports relief, you dapat
RM200.
Simpan RM200.
Dia dapat RM200, okay.
Kalau tak guna gym membership tu, you bayar RM1,000 hanya untuk dapatkan RM200. You baik simpan RM1,000 tu dalam bank ke FD ke.
Betul.
Dapat juga duit interest.
Betul.
You know. So kalau guna, then pergi belanja, ambil receipt, claim receipt. So you kena plan lah. Kena rancang you punya pendapatan, how much you want to spend. Lepas tu berbaloi tak kalau I tak nak guna gym tapi I pergi spend untuk hanya untuk dapatkan tax relief RM200.
Tak apa-apa. You spend,
800 you spend, you tak guna pun.
so your net difference is
Correct.
negative 800 sebab you tak
Correct,
pakai
exactly. Because you tak pakai. So spend belanja untuk apa yang benda yang you pakai lah. Kalau ada anak-anak dia pergi taekwondo ke, pergi sports ke, semua tu boleh claim.
Maknanya benda yang memang nak pakai pun, memang nak spend pun.
Correct, ya. Kalau sekarang semua anak-anak pergi swimming lah, balik, semua kan. So boleh perbelanjaan itu semua boleh claim di bawah sports relief.
Sports relief.
Ya.
Okay, tak sebab kalau tengok kat social media, banyak penjual-penjual, tak nak sebut penjual apalah. Dia ada relief dari segi medical card dan juga insurance hayat. So dia kata belilah benda ni untuk dapatkan tax relief tahun 2025. So kita pun pergi beli. Tetapi kalau selama ni kita tak pernah terfikir pun untuk pakai, kenapa ramai orang suruh berbelanja untuk benda yang sebelum ni tak pernah fikir pun, tapi semata-mata untuk dapatkan tax relief tu dia pergi belanja?
Saya panggil Faiz lah. Faiz tanya tentang medical card.
Yes, contohnya.
Sekarang okay, for example, sekarang contoh saya rasa saya ada juga tanya beberapa agent insurance. Minimum berapa one medical card?
One medical card, okay.
Per month. Minimum dia kata kalau umur masih muda RM200.
RM200.
So you belanja RM2,400. Setahun, right? So you dapat tax relief RM2,400.
RM2,400.
Tapi your medical coverage tu sampai RM1 million. Berbaloi juga. So you tak payah keluarkan duit untuk pergi hospital kalau sakit ke apa ke. So kena plan lah. So you ada RM4,000 setahun. Maximum RM333 per bulan. Boleh juga belanja.
RM4,000 medical card je setahun?
Ya.
Okay.
So kalau umur dah lebih, then
dia
memang
punya premium jadi mahal sikit lah.
Jadi mahal lah.
I see. How about orang yang dia punya pelepasan cukai hanyalah 5%? Sorry, dia punya tax bracket tu hanyalah 5%. Kalau dia spend RM1,000 pun, dia punya savings cumalah RM50.
RM50 je. Yeah. Tapi I think very rarely 5% lah.
Very rarely
very rarely 5%.
It depends lah on dia punya tangga gaji.
Correct, betul.
Tangga gaji. Okay, so now jom kita cakap pasal benda-benda macam gaya hidup. Contohnya, orang selalu fikir pasal gaya hidup ni adalah macam gadget. But it goes beyond that. RM2,500 ni, selalunya apa yang orang pakai?
So, gaya hidup adalah untuk, one is gadget.
Okay.
Setiap 3 tahun lah. Komputer ke, mobile phone ke, semua setiap 3 tahun. Tapi, bukan untuk kegunaan business. Personal use. Kalau I beli laptop, itu laptop untuk rumah, bukan laptop untuk office. Okay? And then you have buku, majalah, buku, subscription to magazine, semua tu termasuk dalam gaya hidup.
Online pun
Online pun, digital pun termasuk.
I see.
So all these are gaya hidup lah.
Itu semua gaya hidup
Lepas tu monthly yang bill bulanan untuk internet. Dekat rumah, bayar Unify ke, Astro ke, Maxis, itu semua termasuk dalam gaya hidup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tapi kalau gaya hidup macam contohnya bil internet je dah RM150. Darab 12 dah RM1,800. Cuma tinggal RM700.
Ya, betul.
Is this RM2,500 ni relevant lagi ke?
Memang tak cukup. Setiap kali saya ditanya soalan ni, saya nak cakap boleh. I nak bagi juga lebih dari RM200,000, but unfortunately tak cukup. Memang tak cukup lah. I bayar RM200 to Unify, dah RM2,400.
Betul?
Apa lagi? Then I go beli buku pun tak cukup juga, dah melebihi kan. Tapi dapatlah sikit-sikit RM2,500. So 20%, kalau tax rate saya, kadar cukai saya 20%, saya dapat saving RM500 lah. Ya, macam tu lah. Lagi satu, since kita tengah berbincang tentang tax relief, belian rumah dari 1 January 2025 hingga 31 Disember 2027, SMP
27, okay.
3 tahun ni. Kalau harga di bawah RM500,000, dapat interest, tax relief for interest up to RM7,000 setahun.
RM7,000 setahun.
Kalau harga rumah kurang daripada RM500,000. Kalau harga rumah between RM500,000 ke RM750, then RM2,500 setiap tahun.
Setiap tahun untuk 3 tahun ni lah.
Yang bayaran interest tu.
Betul, tapi ini untuk 3 tahun ni
3
lah.
tahun tu. 2025, 2026, 2027.
Kalau dia beli pada tahun 2027,
SMP tu mesti sign. Kalau 2027 1 tahun je lah.
Tapi 1 tahun dia punya benefit tu cuma dapat 1 tahun
1
saja.
tahun lah.
Unless the kerajaan pergi extendkan dia punya
Kalau mereka
campaign
extend
lah.
budget 2027, kalau mereka extend boleh lah dapat. Tapi untuk 3 tahun tu jangan lupa, mesti ada orang beli, ada pembayar cukai beli tahun ni kan. So ada interest, you get a tax relief for interest.
Okay. So basically semua tax relief ni semua kita kena claim. If kita forget to claim, then kita takkan dapat lah.
Kalau let's say dah lepas May filing dah habis, Julai baru you fikir tak ada.
Ini tahun depan lah.
Kat tahun depan ke tahun, you have ada 6 bulan untuk rectify borang terpindah.
Okay.
Sekarang kita boleh buat online. Tapi kalau kita nak amend borang dan resubmit, artinya you akan kena audit lah.
Akan kena audit.
That one is compulsory. So kalau you nak saving RM100 ke RM200 untuk tax relief, lupakan saja lah, tak payahlah. Kalau banyak sangat then you then berbaloi lah nak buat.
Okay. Cakap pasal audit I noticed that waktu kita file the e-filing, we don't have to submit dia punya receipts. They assume that we are being truthful.
Yep.
And then bila kena audit lah baru dia minta receipt.
Right. Kalau tak ada receipt, ada penalti lah.
What's the best way untuk simpan this receipt?
My system, saya scan semua.
Scan semua.
I scan semua receipt, I simpan dalam phone ke, iPad ke. Nanti bila ada my accountant, finance, mereka buat kerja, I bagi je receipt tu.
I see.
That's my system. I terus ambil scan. Sekarang kan ada banyak scanning app kan.
Okay.
So I just scan, saya masukkan dalam file saya. Itu je I buat.
Miss Vani, I have to
sekarang,
ask.
because after COVID, lepas COVID, LHDN buat audit pun dia nak semua soft file.
Semua soft copy.
No more hard copy. They want, mereka nak kita email saja.
Previously, dia minta hard copy?
Hard copy, yeah.
Oh, so COVID really changed people
Betul. Cara kerja LHDN is quite advanced, I must say. Mereka nak soft copy je.
Soft copy sajalah.
Semua, just Google Drive ke apa ke, dia akan suruh hantar receipt.
Cakap pasal soft copy, we'll talk about e-invoice kejap lagi. But nak tanya pasal LHDN, since you dah mention pasal LHDN, Barney, the table untuk tax relief, diriliskan pada akhir-akhir tahun. Towards the end of the year, the official list.
Actually, kalau sekarang budget 2026 baru diumumkan.
Betul.
Oktober. By December, dia akan update LHDN punya website dah.
Right.
Dengan personal yang
tapi
relief yang baru.
Tapi itu untuk tahun 2025 kan?
2025 ke 2026. By end of the year, dia akan release dah. Lalu, it's quite updated.
Tapi macam kita nak plan untuk 2025 bila relief tu diriliskan towards the end of 2025.
Actually, no. Lepas budget 2025 dah umum, dia akan keluarkan terus.
Okay, so maknanya awal tahun 2025 memang dah tahu lah.
Dah keluarkan. Kalau check LHDN punya website memang ada.
I see. So tadi Rani ada cakap pasal kalau nak beli laptop untuk tax relief, we talking about personal itu adalah untuk rumah punya. Macam mana LHDN nak tahu if the laptop is bought untuk rumah ataupun untuk company use?
Memang sikit susah lah nak tahu kan. Kerana kalau rumah, kalau saya ada bisnes sendiri, I beli laptop RM4,000.
Okay.
I boleh claim, if I nak buat claim personal tax relief, RM2,500 je.
Betul.
Kalau I buat under business, I dapat unlimited $4,000. So it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Kenapa I nak claim personal kalau I ada business nak guna. So that's how macam itulah mereka akan tahu. Tapi susah sikit lah mereka nak trace. You guna business ke, laptop ke.
Okay, kalau dia ada way around pula macam mana? Dia beli untuk company, tapi dia tahu itu adalah personal use. Contoh dia beli untuk anak dia beli MacBook, pakai nama company, get dia punya 24% off deduction, bagi anak dia pakai.
Ini terlalu public. I mean, kalau mereka nak drill down boleh lah, tapi I think usually it's a bit susah sikit nak trace macam tu.
I see.
Ada juga, I mean, setengah-setengah pembayar cukai buat beli untuk rumah, dia letak dalam office, claim. Yeah. As long you tak claim double-double lah. Sini pun you claim, sana pun you claim.
Yeah, that is my question.
Yeah.
Macam mana nak tahu it's not
Dia
double?
akan tahu. So dia akan tahu.
Especially now with the e-invoicing.
Correct, exactly.
But previously pula macam mana? Sebelum ni tak ada e-invoice. So you have invoice daripada kedai, which is not linked digitally. There's no number yang akan linkkan between one is being claimed dekat company, and the other one is being claimed as personal. Let's say laptop tu cuma RM2,000 lah, so cukup lah untuk RM2,500. Individual dia saja claim dua-dua, dia dapat both, tapi dia spend satu kali saja.
Okay, so let's say dia at least dia audit your personal tax file, lepas tu audit company tax file.
Right.
So dia akan tengok lah. The invoice is there kan. Invoice tu yang sama. Kalau ada dalam dua-dua file, dan dia tahulah.
Especially since harga dia pun sama.
Harga sama, date sama, invoice sama, nombor invoice yang sama. Dia akan tahu.
I see.
Yeah.
Tapi a bit manual lah.
This is a bit manual lah.
But e-invoicing will solve that.
E-invoicing is, sekarang kalau I nak issue invoice, I buat e-invoice to my client. Kalau untuk receipt perbelanjaan, pada masa kini tak ada lagi ruling receipt perbelanjaan saya mesti ada e-invoice. So can be boleh juga receipt biasa je. So I boleh claim perbelanjaan tu. Tapi maybe in future mereka akan, at least dia akan bawa ruling, kalau you nak claim untuk perbelanjaan business mesti ada e-invoice.
Mesti ada.
So pada masa kini belum lagi ada ruling macam tu. So kalau ada receipt biasa untuk expense perbelanjaan, boleh je claim.
I see. So sekarang ni kita dah sentuh sikit pasal e-invoicing, so I'm going to jump to this. Boleh explain tak the recent postponement of e-invoicing untuk business di Malaysia?
Tak ada postponement, but I think they are increased threshold. Perniagaan kecil bawah 1 juta ringgit setahun, your pendapatan tak payah implement e-invoice, which is good. Because kalau kedai runcit ke, kalau less than 1 million, because it's B2C kan. B2C memang susah sangat nak buat e-invoicing system. I think this is specifically untuk perniagaan kecil, especially in the B2C industry.
Yang bawah 1 juta?
Yeah.
Sebelum ni it was bawah apa? 500,000?
500,000.
Okay.
So, sejuta hingga 5 juta start January 2026. So, the rest of the business start July 2026. Sekarang, itu je lah. January 2026 dah mula semua. That means after July 2026 tak ada lagi business yang akan commence e-invoicing, because they are all exempted bawah 1 million. Yeah.
Okay. Tapi ada stipulation tak, kata kalau let's say yang business bawah 1 juta ni, kalau dia punya sale tu is too big, let's say more than 10,000, more than 15,000, more than 20,000, dia memang kena keluarkan e-invoice juga? Tak ada. Kalau you tak terlalu bawa e-invoice, tak payah e-invoice langsung. Tak payah langsung. And this 1 million is sales, revenue?
Revenue. Your sales. Yeah.
Not even profits.
No, not profit. It's your top line.
Okay.
Pendapatan.
What do you think about orang yang kata, orang yang takut e-invoice ni, ada dua jenis je. Okay. One being that dia ni scammer, as in dia buat perniagaan haram lah. And nombor dua adalah dia memang nak mengelak cukai. So that's why dia tak suka invoice. Is there any truth tak dalam this statement?
Betul. Ada banyak, you don't issue invoice kalau cash business. Kalau tak ada invoice, nobody can trace. I don't want to say industry, then I kena tembak pula, So, kalau cash business, tak ada pun invoice. So now, every cash ke, credit card ke, semua kena, you have to have e-invoice. So mereka akan ada rekod. Orang yang tak suka adalah orang, kerana tak boleh lari cukai lah. Memang tak boleh lari cukai. Yeah.
Okay. Then in that sense, macam mana LHDN sebelum ni trace cash business punya income? Because sebelum ada QR, lagi senang nak lari lah. Sekarang ni semua tempat dah ada QR. Okay, fine. So that's why they promote kita pakai digital payments. Okay. So tak payah lari. Tapi there are still kedai yang dia prefer that you bayar cash. I've met them. You ada cash lah. Kalau cash lagi bagus. Okay, so maybe dia under declare. Maybe. Tetapi sebelum ada QR semua, macam mana LHDN nak trace? Contohnya kedai Tom Yum. Okay. Kedai Tom Yum mostly dulu pakai cash, mana ada pakai kad kredit. QR pun dulu tidak ada. So how does LHDN measure dia punya revenue?
So sebelum ni, sekarang sudah self-assessment. So all LHDN officer become tax audit officer. Dia bukan assessor, tak ada lagi tengok file you punya untuk issue J-form kan. Sekarang mereka semua jadi tax audit officer. So mereka ada their own data. Like benchmark.
Okay.
Kalau kedai Tom Yum lain, dia punya gross profit, let's say 30%. Kenapa you punya 10%? So macam tu dia akan tahu. Kalau business, dia akan compare your business with the similar business. tengok you punya sale tu make sense tak, masuk akal tak, kalau gross profit you masuk akal tak, so dia ada benchmark.
Okay.
Dia akan ada data.
Okay.
So even kalau you kata, oh no, saya sudah declare all my pendapatan, they will challenge you. They will challenge you because your number tak ada, you are not matching the benchmark that they have.
I see. And then if you kena flag, you kena audit lah. Macam mana dia nak tahu you punya income if you under-report them? Contoh. Kedai Tom Yam, semua your sale is QR. No cash sales, which tak logik lah. Some people still carry cash. Can they question tak? Macam mana dia nak buktikan? Will they send spies to your shop?
I think they used to do that. But now, because all digital, kan,
Right.
QR kata boleh lari pun. Semua dia tahu, they have a way to do it.
Okay.
That using their own benchmark.
Okay. Now, let's cakap balik kepada individu. So, dari kita terlompat ke e-invoice, I have to ask soalan-soalan yang betul-betul nak tanya. Now, nak tanya pasal individu pula. Pelepasan sukan dinaikkan dan skop dia makin luas. The biggest question yang selalu orang tanya adalah kenapa kasut sukan tak boleh claim as sukan?
Fashion tak boleh. Apparel cannot. Tak
Apparel
boleh.
cannot.
Pakaian dan kasut tak boleh.
Kasut bola pun tak boleh?
Tak boleh.
Kasut futsal, kasut hiking?
Semua tak boleh. Apparels cannot. Tak boleh.
I see.
Equipment boleh. Alat boleh.
But the argument that I have is if you are a jogger or a hiking, you love to hike, that apparel, the kasut is my alat sukan.
I faham. You know? Tapi ada juga RM100, ada yang beli yang RM1,000 Nike shoes, you know, this jogging shoe banyak kan. Yeah. So just to be fair to everyone.
Okay. So other than equipment, macam okay, let's say badminton racket boleh, tennis racket, pickleball,
paddle,
and the ball itself pun boleh.
Boleh.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how about yuran untuk untuk gym membership, untuk masuk taekwondo?
Everything boleh.
Semua tu boleh.
Untuk pembayar cukai, spouse dan anak-anak.
Limited tu?
RM1,000.
RM1,000 for the whole family.
For the whole family.
Unless the spouse file it.
Kalau ada 2 orang yang bekerja, semua so RM2,000 lah.
I see. Okay, then cakap pasal 2 orang, how about SSPM pula? RM8,000 setahun net deposit. Is it limited RM8,000 kepada setiap parent ataupun setiap anak?
Setiap parent can claim RM8,000.
Okay.
Tapi bukan anak yang sama lah. Kalau ada 2 anak, then you claim RM8,000 untuk setiap anak.
So the husband, the father claim for anak A?
Yeah. Wife, anak B.
Kalau ada 8 anak, maksimum tetap RM8,000 seorang.
So,
kalau satu orang anak je?
RM8,000 je.
Then if the father dah claim from RM8,000 to anak ni?
Isteri tak boleh.
Tak boleh? Even though she deposited RM8,000?
Satu anak, yeah.
Oh, then this is also unfair. But there are some parents, they don't have human babies. They have fur babies.
Like me.
Macam mana tu? SSN.
So itu yang sekarang I think IRS ke I baca berita pagi ni ada one pembayar cukai sue IRS kerana dia nak tax relief untuk pet dia.
IRS being LSJN lah. Okay.
You know, so yeah, betul. I agree. Mesti ada tax relief untuk pet pun.
Pet
Bukannya
fur baby lah.
Bukannya cheap pun, you know. Murah pun makanan mereka. Yeah.
I have a question. So kalau the fur baby is actually assigned to an office. Some office dia ada kucing. My office tak ada lah. Some office ada kucing, ada pet dog ke apa ke. Okay. We're not talking about the nature of the pet, but we're talking about the pet being emotional support untuk staff dia.
Okay.
Can all the expenditure meant for the pet be expense under company? Ni kita company tax pula.
Ini I pergi sikit technical lah. Dalam Akta Cukai ada section 33 subsection 1.
Okay.
Dia kata apa-apa perbelanjaan adalah untuk generate your income.
Generate your income.
Specifically, wholly and exclusively to generate your income. So, Alice dia akan tanya macam mana kucing ni menjana pendapatan you? Boleh tak boleh cakap I jaga emosi staff
tak
saya.
Boleh?
Tak boleh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, how about kalau office tu dia ada kursi urut? Okay, kursi urut, a massage chair.
Okay.
Or video game, you know, for the staff.
Alat-alat boleh for staff benefit.
This is so arbitrary juga.
Betul, arbitrary juga. Alat-alat massage chair semua boleh. Apa-apa perbelanjaan untuk staff 100% claimable.
For the staff, as long as you claim it. But the kucing is not
It's not
Alat.
It's not alat.
Unless in the future kita dapat RoboCat lah.
Boleh lah. Yang serve you makanan ke minuman ke.
Ada. Okay. So many things to tanya jugalah. Okay, in that sense, if let's say lah seseorang itu adalah
just on SSPN, SSPN, is net deposit.
Net deposit, that's right.
Kerana they always, I think ada pembayar cukai anggap kalau ada 8,000 dalam bank account, I boleh claim tak. Tapi tak semestinya macam tu. Right? Contohnya kalau I masukkan 5,000. Lepas tu,
keluarkan.
Lepas I keluarkan.
In the same year?
In the same year, I keluarkan 7,000.
Okay.
Then I masukkan balik 8,000 pada 31 Disember kerana I claim. So it's not like that. So 5 minus 7, 5 tolak 7, campur 8.
Campur 8, 6,000.
6,000
you boleh claim 6,000 saja.
Walaupun you ada 8,000 dalam bank account.
Okay, I have a question. For the past 5 years, the net deposit 8,000, dia tak keluar pun. So dia ada 40,000 lah dalam tu. 8,000 multiplied by 5 is 40,000. This 1 year, on the 6th year, they keluarkan all 40,000. So it's negative 40,000, betul? Okay, fine. Dia tak claim apa-apa. Next year, dia masukkan balik RM8,000. For that next year tu boleh claim.
Boleh claim.
Okay, so kalau nak keluar, biar keluar banyak terus.
Correct, betul.
I have to ask sebab RM8,000 this is one of the best expenditure lah.
Yeah.
If you have to pay 25% tax bracket, RM8,000 is RM2,000.
Yeah, correct.
And the money is still yours. Bukan yang macam you terpaksa beli apa-apa.
You simpan dalam bank account je.
You simpan still your money.
Correct, betul. Bukan belanja.
Ramai orang lupa yang ni. Ramai orang tak tahu pasal yang
betul.
ini.
So they have to be very careful.
Okay, now that kita cakap pasal SSPN, why not kita cakap pasal PRS pula? A bit less popular nowadays. RM3,000 limit. Is this something that you would recommend to the...
Depend on the pembayar cukai kan. Kerana some dia tak takut risk. Ambil risiko untuk pelaburan.
Pelaburan PRS.
Some people takut. Right? So for people yang takut risk, I letak je lah dalam PRS. Because you have ada return kan. Lepas tu kalau you tak takut pelaburan, you cannot say, okay, I want to put, I nak letak dalam PRS because I nak dapat tax relief je. Kalau I advise, saya advise business ke individual, I always say, tax planning ada part of it aja, sebahagian saja. You tak boleh buat keputusan, you cannot decide just because I nak save tax. You must tengok secara keseluruhan lah. Berapa your risk appetite, apa return you, mana you nak pergi beli shares ke, dapat return yang lagi tinggi, never mind the RM3,000 PRS. So all that lah, so it depends. Pembayar cukai, what you think is your risk
Right.
appetite. Yeah.
Betul. And for some of them, dia ada banyak sangat duit.
Yeah.
They still masukkan RM3,000 because it's nice to have RM750.
Yeah.
Then takkanlah pelaburan dia setahun RM3,000 je. Dia must be more lah kan.
Betul. Yeah.
So yang risiko dia buat tempat lain, tapi yang tak berisiko dia dapatkan tax savings sebanyak mungkin. Which is 25%. It's like right off the bat, that's like few years punya return.
And duit pun dalam bank you juga.
Yes, dalam your simpanan. Okay, let's go back a bit about the pembelanjaan untuk staff. Assuming that you are a director is not considered staff, yeah? So let's say the director has a wife and then he wants to buy peralatan for the wife. Of course there's a there's a deductible kan for the business. Peralatan.
For wife?
For the staff that works for the company. Because some companies, the spouses work for the company as a staff.
Okay, as employee.
Spouse. Spouse work for the company as a staff. And then there are whatever expenditure that is meant for the staff is tax deductible lah.
Kalau spouse tu bukan director, shareholder, hanya staff saja boleh.
Boleh explain tak the difference between director and shareholder?
Shareholder is kalau I'm director, I duduk dalam lembaga pengarah lah.
Okay.
Tapi kalau I ada juga share dalam syarikat tersebut, saya ada director dan shareholder.
I see. But there are people yang dia shareholder tapi dia not director.
Yalah.
Okay. And there are people who are director
who are not shareholder.
This is appointed.
Correct. Appointed by the company lah.
Okay.
Itu that director pengarah
is a staff.
Is a staff.
Is a staff.
Is
I
a staff.
see.
Yeah.
What is the threshold untuk saham untuk di-consider sebagai shareholder? Is it just one saham out of 1 million pun consider shareholder? The moment dia ada saham, any expenditure on for that director shareholder, tak boleh as a staff. Oh, I see. Okay, let's say things like seorang director tu they need, okay, for example, there are people yang dia punya director goes on sale. So dia pergi, saya nak kata, dia beli accessories for themselves. Contohnya rantai ke, cincin ke. And they claim it's actually meant for a business. Untuk bukan nak kaburkan mata klien, tapi to show that they are successful. So dia beli jam mahal ke apa ke. Are those things part of revenue generating?
Tak ada.
Tidak ada.
Unless, let's say some industry like brand PR ke macam tu kan. Tapi like bukan jam lah. Maybe you want to say your clothes is part of your brand ke macam tu. Maybe 50-50. Tapi apparel memang tak, lawyer suit pun tak boleh.
Tak boleh?
Lah yang court pun tak boleh.
If you go to the court, you need to wear a suit. Boleh?
Tak.
Uniform boleh
Uniform boleh. Uniform boleh. Staff uniform boleh.
Staff uniform boleh. Again, arbitrary quite. And then all these things are being discussed dekat court kadang-kadang. They will fight.
Oh yes, all this. I think ada court case yang kata kuda, is it a plant and machinery?
Kuda?
Kerana mereka guna kuda dalam it's a very old case yang sangat lama. I think from London.
Okay.
So they discuss lah. So I think recently dalam Malaysia, di Malaysia dekat car park as a plant, is it plant and machinery?
A car park? Car park.
Because the business is car park facility.
Right.
So I think IRB tak allow capital allowance.
Capital allowance.
So ada case. Yeah.
So guys, just nak terangkan when I discuss with our tax agent Varni, sometimes I mixkan between individual punya tax questions and company ataupun corporate punya tax questions. So you have to bear with it lah.
Because a lot of listeners are SME juga, SME owners. Yeah,
they
betul.
are.
Yeah.
And cakap pasal SME owners, a director's car ni, macam mana ni? Why is it that the capital allowance is only limited to 100,000 ringgit? I mean, what kind of cars can a director drive with 100,000 ringgit? Maybe paling best pun sekarang ni, maybe X70 or even Honda City. But we're talking about directors. They're driving Mercedes and BMW. And it is part of the company image.
Okay.
Untuk membawa kereta yang ada standard lah. We're not talking about Rolls Royce. We're just talking about BMW saja. Kenapa IRB masih limit it to just 100,000 ringgit?
Because brand BMW and Mercedes all are considered dalam perkataan luxury. Kereta luxury.
Okay.
Right? So the rationale is you tak perlu pun ke kereta nasional untuk you pergi jumpa klien. You boleh juga bawa Honda City ke macam tu. But of course your image tak, unfortunately mereka tak sentuh tentang the PR part of it. So that's why. The reason is luxury car. It's luxury.
Okay.
As long as it's above 150,000, you can claim boleh claim
up
50.
to 100,000. Okay, above 150,000 is
kalau
up to 50.
harga kereta lebih dari 150,000, boleh claim 50,000. If kurang dari 150,000, you can claim up to 100,000. Yeah.
Now, talking about luxury, jom kita tengok CEO LSDN, dia naik kereta apa? Okay.
Mereka ambil Grab.
That's the thing. So, cakap pasal Grab and cakap pasal leasing. Tak boleh ke the company lease from other companies and they call it an OPEX and then 100% claim for the company?
You can claim up to 100,000 for lease rental.
100,000 of that OPEX?
Maximum untuk kereta tu boleh claim 100,000.
100,000.
So kalau RM1,000
sebulan,
so 12,000 you can claim up to berapa? 8 bulan? 8 tahun? 8
tahun, that's right. 96,000.
Yeah.
Jadi kalau let's say dia punya lease is rental lease is RM5,000, 100,000 20 bulan. And then after 20 bulan dia tukar kereta. Dia tukar kereta lah.
Tukar kereta,
tukar lease. Oh, boleh macam gitu. And it's considered as 100% deductible. Banyak cara juga lah.
So kerana kebanyakan GLC buat sistem tu. Mereka tak beli kereta untuk board of directors, mereka lease.
They lease?
Yeah.
This is all tax purposes. Nah, I see. I wish I could be a GLC and lease my cars. Or MNCs, perhaps. Okay, so sekarang ni jom kita cakap sikit pasal zakat. So, untuk orang Islam, I understand that zakat is just as tax rebate.
Betul.
Okay, does that mean that dia tak payah bayar LZN dan dia boleh bayar zakat bodies?
Boleh. Pembayar cukai boleh suruh HR mereka potong zakat bulanan dari gaji bulanan dan bayar kepada lembaga zakat. So tak payah PCB.
Tak payah PCB.
So bila submit tax return, your tax payable, lepas tu deduct zakat yang dibayar lah.
I see. Kalau dia tak buat macam ni, macam mana? What if kalau dia bayar pada akhir tahun zakat, let's say dia bayar RM10,000, dia boleh claim ke tahun depan?
Boleh tahun like, kalau you bayar untuk tahun 2025, when you submit tahun depan Mei, boleh claim your zakat.
I see, but that means dia kena bayar 2 kali lah. Satu dia kena bayar kat PCB dulu, lepas tu dia bayar pada zakat, lepas tu tahun depan baru dia claim balik daripada PCB, daripada LSTN.
You bayar PCB dan zakat.
Ya, sebab dia lupa nak beritahu HR dia.
Kan, then okay lah. Then you have a refund lah. Tapi sekarang based on our dealings with LSTN, kalau boleh don't be dalam situasi yang ada refund, kerana refund sekarang mengambil masa yang lama.
Tapi quite kecoh juga
betul.
I'm not sure if you are aware, one of the influencer atau selebriti yang menjual kasut dan beg tangan, ada go to the news complain, cakap pasal refund untuk company dia dari LSTN sedikit lambat, 4 tahun.
Betul, 4 tahun, betul.
Kenapa bisa sampai 4 tahun?
I think kerana LSTN dia depend on MOF untuk bagi dana. So bila MOF bagi dana baru mereka boleh refund.
I see.
That is the system.
Tapi bukankah it's called a refund? That person already paid.
Tapi I bayar ke lembaga hasil dalam negeri, duit masuk dalam
MOF,
tabung MOF.
I see.
So then mereka guna untuk semua perbelanjaan. Bila dia ada dana, dia akan bagi lembaga hasil dalam negeri untuk bagi refund.
So macam yang cakap lah, kalau boleh jangan
ada refund. Make sure plan properly, business especially, yang SME owners yang sedia berhad, yang buat tax estimate semua, buat betul-betul.
Tapi bukankah kalau kita, okay, let's say like you're supposed to pay RM100,000 in tax. You pay more, refund lambat. You pay less, you kena penalty. So how do I navigate this? Do I should pay more so that I don't get penalty, tapi dapat
kalau
refund lambat?
Kalau nak pay less pun, you have to 30% kan.
Ada buffer.
Ada buffer 30%. So you play around with the buffer lah. But make sure jangan as much as possible, jangan ada refund participation.
So let's say you're supposed to pay 100,000, maybe target pay 80,000 dulu, and then top up lah next year.
Tahun depan.
Janganlah bayar 105,000 and expecting at least to return your money.
It's going to take
Okay, going back to the soalan penalty and refund, kita lambat bayar kepada LSTN, we kena penalty. LSTN lambat bayar balik refund kepada kita, can we penalize them tak?
Boleh, mereka sepatutnya bayar 4% interest.
4% interest?
Setiap tahun.
Setiap tahun. Annualize lah.
Annualize.
Do they actually pay?
But if you insist lah. Kalau tidak, dia tutup mata.
Aduh. So taxes is very, very dangerous. What is the biggest red flag when you see, when LSTN nampak lah? Macam, I pernah dengar, if you claim too many relief, tax relief, banyak semua benda, every single item that you ada kat dalam list of tax reliefs tu untuk personal individual, you claim. Is that a higher chances untuk LSTN to be triggered? Dia ni betul ke semua benda dia?
Betul lah. Setiap 5 tahun ke 3 tahun dia akan datang check lah. So that's why it's for individual.
Okay.
Kalau ada banyak claim, dia akan, that one of the red flag, dia akan trigger lah. Okay, tapi kalau you ada semua receipt, tenang je, bagi dia receipt, dia akan tengok receipt dan okay lah. Kalau businesses, kalau you are tahun-tahun ada rugi saja, tak ada bayar cukai, that is a red flag.
Okay.
You know, kenapa, macam mana you boleh buat business asyik tahun-tahun tak rugi saja kan? So that's one of the red flag. Lepas tu lagi satu, like I said, kalau benchmark you punya gross profit tak match mereka punya benchmark data, it's trigger.
Tapi I have a question. Macam mana companies boleh claim that dia rugi? Okay, I bagi contoh maybe revenue coming in susah nak tipu lah, because it's this invoice from other companies. You invoice me 1 million total. LSTN will see your record and then they will know I'm earning 1 million. Okay, fine. Tapi macam mana dia nak menipu, if I can say that they have no profit by expanding dia punya costs. So dia tipu invoice apa?
Yalah, tipu invoice lah, tipu belanja lah. Either tipu belanja or you 100% rugi. Memang betul-betul rugi. Kalau you betul-betul rugi, takkan 10 tahun you nak continue rugi saja kan? It doesn't make business sense. That is one of the red flag. So kalau 2-3 tahun rugi because COVID ke, kerana COVID pun baru habis 2023 lah officially. So you recover, okay lah. And moving forward, you have to make profit lah.
In your opinion, is LSTN ni overpowered or underpowered? Do they need more people or do they need fewer people?
I think they have enough people.
Just nice,
Yeah, betul. But they are very good now. They are system make them like all they are trying to automate everything, you know. Now you can access my tax and everything is there. Ledger pun you boleh. Tak payah last time dulu kita kena pergi LHDN call, give me the statement. Sekarang you can access my tax, get your ledger yourself.
Semua business owner kena tahu lah. I pun masuk kadang-kadang, tapi my accountants will masuk all the time lah.
Yeah.
Okay, jom cakap pasal dasar perancangan 2026 for LHDN. So in 2025, ataupun during budget 2025 that was announced in 2024 last year, kerajaan mengumumkan dividend 2% telah bermula. Okay, so people scramble, business owners scramble, they pay dividend yang they normally wouldn't pay in 2024 supaya boleh elakkan cukai yang perlu dibayar pada 2025. Adakah this dividend tax ni considered as a double taxation? Sebab now the idea sebelum ni, business owners, SME akan biarkan gaji personal tax tu rendah sikit lah, maybe 70,000 sebab dapat tax bracket rendah. And the rest is coming from the company, and the company pay company tax 24%. And then they ambil whatever is remaining, return earning dia lah, dia dapatkan dividend. But now dividend pun kena tax lagi. Kalau tax dah kena, dividend tax kena lagi. Macam mana tu?
Nak kata double tax tu tak juga lah, you know, because a lot of SME owners, that's how they avoid tax. I won't say evade lah, avoid tax. Plan for their tax. So if you look at your effective tax rate, 100,000, let's say you keluarkan 150,000 dividend, yang tax tu 50,000, above 100,000, bukan total 100,000, 100,000 tu. 50,000 tu kena tax. So 2% is what? 1,000 ringgit?
1,000 ringgit.
So if you look at the effective tax rate, it's not so much.
It's not so much,
you know. So 24, if I don't do it, then I'll be paying. Kalau I masukkan sebagai penggajian pun, my tax rate akan naik juga.
Betul, personal tax rate.
Tax is 20% for 100,000, right? So for me, 2%, okay. I think it's okay.
So Vani, as they said lah, there are two things that you cannot avoid. Death and taxes.
Yeah, death and taxes. You cannot avoid.
You go right, kena tax. Go left, kena tax.
Correct, betul. Yeah.
Okay, is this the 2%? Dia akan naik tak rasanya?
Maybe.
Once dia dah ada, they can increase or decrease.
Dia kena mula je. Kalau dia dah mula, mesti ada naik.
But that's what they said about GST. So ada GST boleh turun naik anytime. What they did was they just cancelled it.
But I think itu ada banyak punca-punca politik lah. It's a very political, right?
Ada. Okay, Vani, apakah benda yang ramai orang terlepas pandang when it comes to tax filing dia for individual? What is the biggest item? So there are very small item yang maybe ada, maybe penting, tak penting. But apakah benda yang paling penting yang dia perlu tahu? We're not talking about the 9,000 ringgit taxes, but itu automatic lah. Bila nak letak filing, automatic will put there. But apakah something yang dia boleh buat then they can earn as much as possible in terms of tax savings?
Sekarang I think most tax, kebanyakan pembayar cukai dia tahulah tax relief, because dalam form pun dia ada cakap kan. Apa masalah yang paling kami common tengok, mereka tak simpan dokumen. So bila mereka buat submission, mereka tahu mereka dah spend, because credit card ada charge kan, RM1,000, tapi no dokumen. Tapi mereka nak claim juga. That is the biggest masalah. Bukan mereka tak tahu buat claim tax relief ke apa ke, they know. But
my tax pun senang
my tax pun senang. Because it's all fill up je.
Just fill up, yes, no, did you buy this, did you buy that?
Correct.
Yes, I did, yes.
Lepas tu tapi mereka tak simpan dokumen. That is the problem.
So investment in a document punya upkeep is the most important lah.
Betul.
Actually tak susah pun, sebab sekarang ni ada Google Drive. You can just save your old files, then just leave it there.
Macam I just scan and keep je.
I see. Do you have tax issues tak personally? Being a tax agent, do you run your own tax or do you have someone else do it for you?
We do our own taxes lah. Yeah, we have accountant who does the account, then we submit our tax.
Okay.
Tax ourselves.
I had a cut United States. They mean tax filing is not free; that you have to pay for it. But in Malaysia, is that true?
To submit your tax return to IR, to Inland Revenue. Yes, is United Tax. I think is that. I'm not aware. But statutory, macam mana boleh charge untuk buat statutory submission?
America is very pelik lah. They have this thing called TurboTax that you have to pay for.
Okay.
And TurboTax lobby to the US government saying that make sure that there's no free version of the tax filing. Yeah. If you check US TurboTax and then they sued the US government because they said that it's their rights to run a business lah. So the government is not supposed to interfere with them run a business. Tapi in Malaysia, of course, it doesn't work that way. We are happy that MyTax atau LHDN provided this thing called MyTax supaya kita tak perlu isi borang secara manual. I hate that. I hate doing that. Berarti nak tanya lah. So in terms of the 2% dividend tax tu, what is the best option yang a business owner boleh buat? Sama ada, do they don't pay dia punya gaji tinggi sangat, or do they pay dia punya gaji and then kurangkan daripada ambil dividend? So which is the best option?
If you want to save on your personal tax, kalau kerana kadar cukai individu tinggi kan,
betul,
maximum 30%.
30%, yes.
So you play around with the figure lah. So how much, kalau I ada nak bayar kereta, kalau I ada anak, I ada ibu apa, semua tu cost kan. So how much is your cost? Berapa perbelanjaan setiap bulan? Let's say 10,000. So you ambil 10,000 gaji. Yang lebih tu you ambil dividend lah. Kerana that's how mereka akan plan lah. So tengok perbelanjaan, how much is your personal expenses, then you put your letak gaji sebanyak tu. Then rest profit akhir tahun you take out as dividend.
But Bernie, untuk personal tax kan dia bertangga. Okay, is what do you call it?
Scale rate.
Scale rate. So even kalau kita kata 10,000 ringgit per month untuk 12 bulan, 120,000, you are not paying effective tax rate of 20%, 25% on that 120,000. The first 10,000 sikit, the first 40,000, 70,000 is just what, 16%, 13%.
Just 120,000 tu ada tax relief kan?
Betul.
Let's say tax relief you ada 20,000 ringgit. So net
100,000 is taxable income, and then it's not 20% on 100,000.
Correct.
So the effective tax rate is maybe 12%.
Less. Usually it's about
10,000,
about 18%, 15%. Right. Kalau you count the effective tax rate, lepas buat all your deduction, 15%, 16% je.
And that is way lower berbanding dengan 24% of the company.
Correct. Betul.
So bukankah you can play around? Okay, I want to get the same.
Yes.
Apa dia panggil lah? Effective tax rate between this and this.
Because SME, the kadar cukai untuk syarikat mula dari 15%. 15, 17, 24.
Betul.
So you plan dengan company your estimated income.
Betul.
And your personal income.
Betul. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to do this. Is that why?
Itu yang penting, mula January. Don't mula in December bila you nak tutup your accounts. No, don't do that. Itu red flag. If you make adjustments in December, that's a red flag.
Oh really?
Yes.
LHDN will detect. So adjustments ni just nak bagi tahu, adjustments in the CP20.
No, not CP, in your P&L. Let's say you want to debit your general ledger, you want to put in more expenses, put in your income. In December you do it, that means they know, mereka tahulah you tengah buat, you're playing around.
I see. Yeah. Unless for some businesses,
kalau correct,
heavy dekat December because banyak company nak habiskan budget.
Itu different case lah. So ada, tapi especially 31st December. Kalau you tengok general ledger, you will see a lot of adjustment on 31st December. That's it.
That is a red flag, and audit will come lah.
Audit. Yeah.
Final question: what is your best atau worst experience when it comes to being audited? Not yourself, but maybe the people that you know of or companies that you know of.
Mereka perbelanjaan tu memang legitimate. Memang dia belanja untuk perniagaan.
Okay.
But the IRB won't agree ini untuk business. You tak perlukan perbelanjaan ni untuk business. So it depends lah. So ada case, kita ada menang satu case dekat federal court, actually Vira Muda. So that's a big case lah. Macam tu, kalau mampu ambil case ke mahkamah ke macam tu, orang pembayar cukai boleh buat. But that is one of the most common problem. IRB tak akan agree dengan pendirian yang company kita ambil.
Yes. The company and the tax agent ambil.
Correct. Yep.
In that sense, pergi ke mahkamah lah.
Kalau you tak amount besar, pergi ke special commissioner ke atau mahkamah lah, whichever.
I see. But this is costly jugalah to the company. I see. What's the winning rate between RLB versus companies?
I would say 50-50.
50-50.
Sometimes they lose, sometimes they win. Yeah.
Will there be intimidation tak daripada the lembaga?
They're quite professional. Mereka quite professional. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much, Varni, for sharing both individual and company and corporate punya tax navigation throughout the year. Do you have any final message to the audience about their personal income taxes?
Simpan receipt. Jangan takut LHDN. They're okay with it.
They are okay. They just asking the money that they are
betul.
owed to.
Betul,
as long as kita tak
dia nak tengok
pusing-pusing.
dokumen je. Bagi dokumen dah habis dah.
Dah habis. Okay. Sebab income selalunya is fixed by the company, by your employer.
Yeah,
so salary tak boleh lari.
Betul. Salary tak boleh lari lah.
I see. Tapi just one thing. Salary tak boleh lari. But income, because some people dia buat part-time. So some of this part-time memang apa dia panggil lah, cash basis. So yang itu LSM belum nampak lagi.
Belum. Tapi mereka, they are aware.
They are aware.
They are aware. Because kalau kita tengok budget 2026, there's no new tax. Tak ada tukai baru. Not much lah. So 2026 onwards, mereka akan concentrate compliance. That means tax audit will increase.
Alright.
Yeah, so that's why if CEO LHDN pun berkata, kita akan concentrate dalam compliance process. So yeah.
And then kalau kena audit for 1 year, they won't audit for 1 year. They will audit for a couple of years.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. 3 tahun.
3 tahun, and it can go back for how long?
They can audit you up to 5 years.
5 years.
Okay. Tapi kalau mereka tak nampak ada negligence or fraud, up to 12.
Kalau tak nampak?
Kalau nampak ada negligence, ada fraud ke, dia akan
go back all the 20 years
all
back.
12 years.
12
tahun.
Yes, 12 tahun.
Yeah.
Kalau normal it's only 5 years. And okay lah. I see. But a bit leceh juga lah untuk give all this receipt.
Tapi digital lah. Just keep it in your soft copy. Sekarang cloud semua dah ada kan. Just keep simpan je receipt yang digital version. Okay.
Just to share, I had to pay my zakat, tens of thousand ringgit. I paid to Lembaga Zakat Selangor. And then bila I nak buat tax filing, I just cakap je berapa I bayar kat zakat. They never ask for document, no audit whatsoever. I'm thinking that they have a linkage lah between Lembaga Zakat dengan LHDN. So LHDN can just ask, did this fellow really pay? And then if he said yes, okay lah, no problem with me.
They can ask you also lah.
They could. That means an audit lah. Or maybe just an inquiry, betul?
Betul, yeah.
Right.
Akan tanya dokumen lah.
Betul. Okay, thank you.
But also be careful out there. Sekarang scammer juga ada gunakan LHDN punya email.
Right.
Because one of my salah satu client dapat. Dia panik lah. Because I think LHDN at Hotmail, mana ada Hotmail. So careful. Yeah.
Must be back then kalau masih pakai Hotmail. Dia dah lama punya kot.
Bukan 2 bulan lepas.
2 bulan lepas pakai Hotmail lagi. Okay. For our age kita kena Hotmail, but the younger generations
correct. Yeah, tak ada
Hotmail. Tahu apa dia tu Hotmail. Okay.
Betul.
Thank you very much, Varni. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on this. Kita jumpa lagi in the future, insyaAllah.
Thank you, Encik Faiz, for having me here.
Sama-sama.
I hope to come back again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.